Yeah, being in the house is like, I miss going out, you know what I'm saying? I miss being with my friends and, you know.
Tomorrow I am going to the forest, so I will make some videos from the forest, from the Polish forest.
You gonna take sound too from the forest?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I need a fun place to go take some sound. I might do like the. I think the train is.
Oh, like, listen! I am going to the mountain, which is not so high, but it's like the Witches Mountain in Poland.
Witches Mountain.
Yeah, like when witches used to have their meetings, like Sabbath. That's the legend.
Yeah, I'm learning and I'm taking a class on crime and punishment, and they're talking about European witches and being burned at the stake.
Oh yeah, that's the crazy story as well. So yeah, so maybe I will take some pictures at this Witches Mountain for you and some sounds.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll transform it to some witches, burning witches sound.
Every time we learn about something in America about like Poland, it's never anything good.
Maybe you are checking the wrong websites.
No, it's not even a website. It's like, when you go to school, right?
Yeah.
They'll give you a test. How many people were killed in Poland? Like, I remember that was the answer. Like, from this time period to this time period, how many people were killed in Poland? Like, that was like a real question on the test, like out of a textbook.
What can I say?
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of like stereotypes about Polish people in America. But I think there are stereotypes about every nation.
Everybody. So everybody. People have stereotypes about Black Americans, Asians.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, maybe what will be the most important like part of this residency is that we can like share some real experiences and like I think
also too like interesting between like the witch, like if you bring that too and we make a video like because like the witch kind of trials like for my like doing it in my school, I mean talking about it in my school, it's kind of like at one point anybody can blame anybody for being a witch and they would just get burned, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of
but only women.
Yeah, but only women too. So like it kind of reminds me of like American justice system, you know what I'm saying? If someone says you do something and you're a certain race or you're a certain gender or something, like they'll just be quick to burn you or like send you to jail. So like the interest of like crime and I like that. Like, like the intersection of like crime and punishment.
Yeah.
And who gets punished and why.
Yeah. I think it's like kind of like similar form of oppression, like of I mean I was reading a book about witch trials in Europe and from like kind of like feminist perspective, and it's kind of like amazing because it's like you can compare like the number of women being killed like during witch trials to the Holocaust, which is like like millions of witches were burned, and nobody is like calling it as it should be called, like
like a monstrosity. Yeah, it's not
like you know what I mean. It's like, oh yeah, witches, like whatever, like some old ladies were burned on, like but it's like horrible, it were like millions of human beings, and it's amazing. Like history is full of shit.
Yeah, but I know from what I learned too is like that people were just like blaming people like, oh, you're a witch. I don't like that lady. She's a witch. But then they had to start coming up with like trials to say like you had to be tried, and if like I think like 3 or more people say you were a witch, then you actually became a witch. And then also too, the witch trials helped like create like prisons and like actual like trials like to try people. Because before that, people were just accusing people and they were just dying. And then people were just like, hey, look, we can't do this. And then also, too, like they started doing prisons because they thought like burning was too barbaric.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was like
Yeah, that's a lot of good history.
It was like creating prisons was like the process of enlightenment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So They didn't want to shred people into pieces anymore in public. So
that's a lot of people. Like I was looking about how many people they killed like a day. Like that's a lot of people.
yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. Like I don't think enough people talk about it. Like it's like a true like like a monstrosity or like like some other things. 1 million people dying. That's a lot.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of things that get swept under the rug, and I think like there's a lot of things in like African history, like in the Congo, like I think like 40 million Africans were killed to make rubber. Like when rubber was first made, I can think somebody from Europe came over there and like enslaved a whole bunch of African people, and they were pulling the rubber out of
Belgium, I think.
Yeah, Belgium. That's what it was. Belgium, and they killed like over 40 million Africans, and nobody really talks about it. You know what I'm saying? Even other races.
I think it's being talked about more and more, but still not too much. But I think he doesn't have statues in Belgium anymore. Like it's like it's a good sign. And it all happened last year, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all those statues of like kings like him were just like taken down in countries like Belgium.
So, you know what I think would be interesting too? If we talk about like if you go like do the witch, like where the witches met up, or if you found places like where like witches were burned or something like that, and you recorded those sounds, and then I get places like maybe like I don't know, like an American prison or recorded police car or something like that, right? And then we can kind of fuse those together, and for like our improvisation. And then we could talk about kind of like crime and punishment, like the history of crime and punishment in both of our countries from our point of view. What do you think about that?
I think it's interesting because, for example, in Poland, we have like long history like of Jewish and Polish relationship. And for example, in my country, there are many like places connected to history of Holocaust. Like Jewish ghetto and places like this. So if you would like to go in this direction, I think it's interesting.
I think it's very much interesting too, because you can sample a lot of sounds or even find sounds online. I mean, I don't know how like what kind of sounds you would like to use, but maybe I don't know, maybe like fire crackling or. I don't know. That's what would be a little hard.
Noise,
yeah. Yeah, I think that's very much interesting. I think that's cool.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's try to
I think
share this stuff this week, and next week we'll see what we have.
Yeah, I think that'd be very much interesting too. That'd be like both of our cultures coming together. You know what I'm saying? We talking about a single thing, crime and punishment and the history of it throughout both of our countries. But like you're talking about like the witch trials, I'm talking about like, like American prison system. Because actually America has like the biggest mass incarceration rate.
I know. I know. I have been watching documentary about this system and it's crazy. I mean, for me, it sounded like some new form of like using people for free work.
It's basically, because America has a history with like Black people as slaves, right?
Sure.
And so, when slavery ended, it was just all these Black people walking around, and they started like these prisons, and they needed these prisons to be filled because of private prison contracts, whatever. So they was like, well, we got all these slaves, these Black slaves, whatever. So they started making these ridiculous laws, like if you knew how to read or write, you could get arrested. If you did this, you get arrested. So then mostly Black males, such as myself, will be in this system, And then once you're in the system and you come out of jail, they don't give you no therapy, psychological therapy or anything to get better. They don't give you access to like bank loans, start a business or anything. So then you go right back into the same system. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. Like very, very bad. Like I have a lot of people, friends, family members that are like in the system, and it's really hard to get out like psychologically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then even like you could think of like police officers as like modern day witch hunters, if you kind of would like to think of it that way. You know what I'm saying? Because a police officer in America could say I did something and have no evidence and I can go to jail.
Yeah, I've heard of this kind of stories. Okay, so if you would like to think about this kind of topics, because in Poland, like the biggest like conflict is like you know, we have those big protests because like women's rights are like being taken away from us, and we have like, you know, 1 million people like protesting in Warsaw this autumn and stuff like that. So I could also maybe make some recordings about this topic. Like I can collect some maybe field recordings from the protests or stuff like that. Let's just see, maybe